we need to, we have a guest speaker tonight. First off, we have a new ordinance, the tree ordinance on for the first reading tonight, and it'll run its course. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any update on your Human Relations Commission?
I will have appointments, officially, I'll email appointments out to you guys and just get your nod on at the next meeting.
No.
No.
Any other future ordinances for end of the month and that first week in August, on August 7th? Max, you have
Yeah,
anything?
we may be looking to add on our salary staff at level like where our assistant superintendent, Barry Foster, Jack knows that to sewer maintenance supervisor position at the out of the union.
Actually, I brought that folder if you want. You asked me to bring the
Yeah,
folder.
you can. Sure, and I talked about today, so.
Okay.
I can get it. Yeah. Yeah. Was it sewer maintenance supervisor?
Sewer maintenance supervisor.
So 2869 for this year, 2934 for next year. That's what the water maintenance supervisor is. He said for it to be the same.
You have any others, Sherry?
I do have transfers. Do you want me to run down through them?
Sure.
Okay. Dave had requested, actually some additional appropriations, but looking through, I have room that I feel like we can just do transfers rather than increasing the budget. So 22,850 from water legal counsel to water distribution maintenance, 20,000 for line sludge hauling to distribution maintenance. And when I'm doing these, I look back over the past several years to see what has actually been spent and what's been sent this far, and transfer what I feel like we safely can. $2,000 for water unemployment to water capital improvement, $10,000 from water insurance to water capital improvement, 4,500 or 45,000, excuse me, water debt service to water capital improvement, 7,000 for water treatment vehicle fuel to water capital improvement, $2,000 from water audit fees, to water capital improvement, $10,000 from water new meters to water capital improvement. And then some of our utility line items with utility prices going up, $4,000 from street workers' compensation to street utilities, $3,600 from the 708 water West Lafayette telephone internet to the West Lafayette superpower purchase, which is their utilities also, and $1,000 from water West Lafayette new meters to water West Lafayette water superpower purchase. So just those transfers.
All right. Just a reminder, we are going to meet that August 7th. So don't forget that. Make sure you put that on your calendars, and then that will be the last one until the second Monday in September. Okay. Anybody else have any ordinances? Mary, you have any?
Not that I know of right now.
Okay. The other day I got a phone call from Max. Want me to meet. I was in the middle of Lake Erie and wanted to meet the next day. You know, I have plans obviously, and I know other people work. So I think Jim Christ and Mike Gross attended the meeting. And I thank you for volunteering to go on a short notice. And it's about the aggregation. And I think we have the guest here tonight. So if any other council members have any ordinances that need to be addressed. I just know that there's a lot of code enforcement citations going out, and I appreciate it because I remember when the former code enforcement here and the mayor and Max and everyone said it had to have more teeth. Well, it has more teeth, and you know, it's what we wanted, and we need to make sure that we support Mark and what he's doing. So that's what we wanted. and hopefully he's getting the support elsewhere as well. So, Mark or Max, you guys want to introduce the gentleman?
Yeah, we have John Nye with us tonight. He's from Reaver Energy. But John goes back a good ways with the city. He's who we have done our contracts for electric and gas for as long as I've been here. I think before that even, so he always does a good job for the city getting us our best gas rates. We usually do 2 or 3 year contracts with him, but he's also knows all there is to know about aggregation, and he would be the guy that would go out on the city's behalf if we both become an aggregator, and would solicit bids and get the best rates for our residents. So he's been a partner with us for a long time, so we know. So he has put together some FAQs. He'll go over his spiel, and then if you read through your FAQ sheet there, it will answer all your questions, but if not, so feel free. So
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me.
The floor is all yours.
Okay. So the frequently asked questions hopefully answer a lot of questions. Government aggregation is certainly been around for many years in Ohio. The benefit of it, of course, is if you look at, defining aggregation, basically you're pooling a residence load or energy loads and then negotiating a rate based on a larger pool than what they could get individually. And so I think the reason why this has been brought to council today is that you can see that the energy rates right now in AEP have really taken off. I think that's maybe added a little bit of a catalyst to take a look at something that really could, help the pocketbooks of your residents and small businesses. And so I think we're looking at both electric and gas aggregation. So a lot of times, if one of them's on the ballot, either they both pass or they both fail. And my experience is that with aggregation, particularly in this environment, there's a good chance we could, get both these passed. So again, at 11.8 cents right now is AEP's rate. I just did aggregation programs. I did a gas aggregation with the city of Toronto here a few months back, as well as the village of Minerva just recently. And the rates on there, I think we were someplace in the high 5s on gas and someplace in the mid 6s cents on the electric. And I would think that, gas and electric are commodities traded. And so they're a bit of a moving target, right? So I can't stand here and predict what that rate's going to be, but I would say that you're probably looking at something between 6 and 7 cents. That's kind of my guess. The process for aggregation is such that the first thing is obviously you need the ordinances, and that's why I think we're here, the mayor and service director here, that the reason you're looking at this is that you have to have an ordinance passed by the city for both the electric and gas. And then that has to be brought to the Board of Elections. And then there's a question put on the ballot, the November ballot. I think November 7th, Max is right, is a date there. That will be put on the ballot. It will be presented to your voters. And if we have 50 plus 1 votes in favor of it, you become an electric and or gas aggregator, municipal aggregator. At that point there, the first thing that we do is that we go ahead and get a certification going. Certifications are required by the Public Utility Commission of Ohio. And so that certification I assist with, and it's a rather lengthy document, probably 25, 30 pages, but it's a application that has to be filed. Usually takes 30 days to get approval. I've never had a application not be approved when I filed. And so it's a good chance within 30 days, we would get the status of a certified electric aggregator for the municipal, both gas and electric. At that point there, we're free to submit bids out to several suppliers. I think I submitted up to 4 or 5 suppliers for each of the different municipals that I did recently here. And we get the best rate back. We look for the best contracts, the lowest rates. And at that point there, an agreement is signed for whatever term we decide is the best rates, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I've done a lot of aggregation programs recently. I'm thinking of the city of Toronto where we did a electric aggregation. We did a 4-year term. This was 2 years before, this was a couple years before COVID. And we were down in the 4.85 cents. And to this day, I get Kitten Gaddis over there, who's the auditing clerk over there, sends me people who want to get enrolled in this thing because the rates are so good. Particularly now, when you're looking at 11.8 cents, we were at 4.85 cents on that aggregation program. We signed it for 4 years. And that gave us basically anyone could get in this at any time, free of charge and leave free of charge and still get that rate. So that's a pretty sweet deal for them. Just happened to be the timing was really good there. But that's what the benefits we can bring to your residents and small businesses is if we can negotiate a good rate. It's kind of a safety net for them. It's a safety net for your residents and small businesses. And they have the municipal here kind of backing it, has analyzed it, researched it, holding me accountable for it. And so usually works out pretty good for residents and small businesses, particularly I think in this environment with such high rates. I think we could probably, maybe cut almost in half the energy costs here for residents who want to participate. So if you go through this, you will see a big question I oftentimes get is people say, gee, if I get into this program, first of all, who's eligible for the program? And I think we outline that here pretty good on the second page, who is eligible for the program. About midway down, you see the people that are eligible. And really what it comes down to is that if you're with the utility, if you're with AEP today, you're a great candidate for this program. When we contract with a supplier and they send out opt-out letters, I receive a large Excel spreadsheet from AEP and lists every one of your residents and small businesses. Anyone in there who is with the utility will get an opt-out letter inviting them to participate. If you have a supplier, and many times people do have a supplier, you would not get an opt-out letter because we would not want to overwrite an existing agreement and then subject to some of the cancellation fees. The big benefit, like I said, with the aggregation program is that there isn't cancellation fees. You can get in and out of these programs without any cost. If you contract with someone individually, you're subject to the terms of that agreement, and then there's a cost associated if you leave early. In the case of the aggregation program, that's not the case. But the point I'm making is this, is that you're not going to get an opt-out letter unless you're with the utility, and we know that you don't have a third-party supplier, because again, we don't want to put that person in a position where they potentially could be subject to canceled rates from their own supplier. So no fees to get in, no fees to get out. A rate that holds true for the duration of the term. Like I said, I signed some 48-monthers here recently, and I keep getting calls from people who are still wanting to get in. And the thing was good for 48 months. Now, oftentimes these aggregation programs, usually 24 and 36 months are kind of the average term. But again, that can be decided if we get approval from your voters on November 7th, 50+1, gas and electric. Once that happens, we do have a couple of meetings that are required by law. Once that is done for the community, at that point there, I go out and I get you certified with the Public Utility Commission, 30 days of approval process to get you certified. Once you are certified, it's renewals every 2 years. I take care of the renewals on that too. So this is something that you lean on me to do. That's my job. But again, the big thing, like I said, who's eligible? It's really people who have the utility right now, and there's no fees to get in and out. If you do have a contract with someone and your contract ends, you notify myself or the supplier, and you send me a bill, and I get you enrolled. So even though you may not be eligible right off the bat because you're with a supplier, if that contract ends and you like this rate better, by all means, contact me. And I will go ahead and get each of your residents or small businesses enrolled. Small businesses are eligible for this. I think you see in here that you have to be 700 kWh a year or less usage. So that's a small business. That's your gas stations, that's your retail, that's your restaurants, people like that. Usually if you get into manufacturing, a bigger manufacturing, usually they get over 1 million kWh annually, not eligible, but they can always contact me and I will work with them on a custom rate based on their usage with the supplier. So I can.
How many schools do you have involved in this?
The schools are not eligible for this. It really is for, the tariffs are for residents and small businesses only.
All right, I'll just read here. It says, well, small businesses, schools and churches be eligible, and the answer was yes, so that's why I asked the question.
Oh, listen, I see what you're saying. Listen, no, you're absolutely right. My mistake here, Councilman. You do have, if you're 700,000 KWH or less, even if you are a school or a church, you are eligible. You're right. You're right. I don't see a lot of schools. I see a lot of churches. I see a lot of businesses. I haven't seen as many schools, but if they have accounts that are below 700,000, they are eligible. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Toronto would probably qualify because they're a real small community.
Yes, they have a lot of, I mean, the Toronto, their individual accounts for the city, I have under a separate contract. Just like I would here for Coshocton, that your small accounts, all your accounts are under an agreement right now for energy. The education program, while they would be eligible for that, because they're usually under contract, they usually don't get opt-out letters submitted to them. But they could be potentially eligible, sure. Were there any questions as you went through this FAQs that maybe came to mind? I wanted to just kind of top off some of the more frequently asked questions, but
What's this cost the city?
good question, Councilman. The cost to the city, there's $100 that fee that annually that goes to the Public Utility Commission, and there's another PUCA related entity that gets $100 as well. So for each aggregation program, that's $200 gets paid to them annually. So if we got gas and electric passed, you'd be looking at $400 annually.
So if we agree to do this and create the ordinances, who's going to promote them to the public as it goes on the ballot? Whose job is that?
I got my pom-pom.
Yeah, listen, I think all of us would be, I normally do.
I mean, it's new to us, so I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, no, listen, normally I do education prior to, I think it's a good idea. And so, public meetings you can do, I can come on down for public meetings. They're usually not that well attended, but it's nice to have them, post them in a spot where your community will see them.
We could put it on our water bills.
We thought about
Right.
doing
Put them
that,
on the water bills.
Going-
That's what Toronto does, exactly that.
going on
They
WTNS.
said that we could do
Yeah, yeah.
FAQs and our promotion as a separate sheet. What was it, Dave, about $400?
Yeah,
to do all the water
450,
bills?
black and white, two-sided, I believe.
Yeah, so we could actually add an additional sheet to our water bill prior to the election. And I'd like to say, I hate that you guys probably think they sprung this on us. I didn't know AEP was gonna raise the rates 28%.
Right, and I was like, we have a way to save people money, so let's.
Past
try.
history, Roger was on council at the time, and Mike, I believe, we did put aggregation on the ballot
Yeah, we
in
did.
2018, I believe. It was
I thought
very
it was
poorly
on-
I
marketed.
thought it was on the ballot.
Yeah, it was very poorly marketed. It was by a company out of Toledo that, they just kind of got us to vote for it and we walked away from us. It did not pass, but it wasn't a big margin, but, I don't think it was explained well enough to residents.
Right.
And with the 28% at one time and possibly more coming at us, like the time's right that we could save our residents some money.
And what's our deadline to get it to the Board of Elections?
April.
August
or
9th is the deadline.
Yeah, that was the urgency for doing this, so
So we would have to pass something in council.
on the 24th.
On the next meeting or?
Maybe, yeah, we're gonna wait till the 7th, I think it's pretty tight to.
Yeah.
make sure everything's right.
We'll need to have a public hearing as well, correct?
So the public hearing is not until I mean, we can have a public hearing, but requirement is to get it on the ballot. You don't have to have a public hearing.
Public hearing comes after.
Right after it's passed for PUCO.
Yes, two are required, two public hearings are required if and after it's passed. That's required by law. And that has to be actually documented in the application that's submitted to the Public Utility Commission. So that we have two of those.
That's after the voters.
After the voters pass.
Not the
Right,
ordinance.
so your education before, I think it's a great idea, but it's not required. But I think it's a great idea, especially in light of the
They
fact
say like
that.
the talk show going on, you know, WTNS.
But you know, some people are gonna say, well, and now they're trying to tell me where I buy my electric and, you know.
Well, they
but-
get a choice, though, don't they?
But if we educate,
You have, you
Yeah,
can opt in, you can opt out, there's no cost, you know, to me, if you wanna save half, pretty much basically half on a kilowatt hour on your power, it would be a great program. If you don't, then opt out of it and pay double.
It's like anything else, that's how it's rolled out.
Right, it's just,
yeah,
no, and it's pretty simple, I think.
When did you approach the mayor of Max about this?
I approached him
When,
because I was sick of paying so much for
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying,
my
when?
electric.
yeah, when?
Like last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
just last
Yeah,
week?
we
right.
talked
the day-
about it at our
yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah,
When I said in the meeting, I was a little skeptical about the whole thing. One thing, aggregate, that, you know, that has a lot of meanings, you know, which is kind of a broad term for a lot of things. So I think the key to the whole thing is getting it passed, is the marketing part, is
Right.
getting it, letting
Explaining
people
it,
know
right.
exactly what it is, maybe use, you know, different terminology or something, say, hey, because I see my electric bill went up 28%, you know. So you have to get it out to the voters that, you know, this is gonna save money, but it's gonna have to, you gotta simplify it.
right. It's
little
as
bit.
simple as we're all buying in
Yeah.
to the same place to
Well-
get buying power.
After I asked if you two volunteered to go, I researched, and the city attorneys, Bricker and Eckler, they have an article posted about aggregation. So it's pretty good, and it was more pros and a lot more pros, and I think there's only just a couple
Well,
cons on there,
and
so.
John has been it's like, we didn't just pull John out of the sky, like he's actually been in charge of our aggregation at city for all of our plants and buildings, and so that's why we already have that relationship, so it wasn't like he was walking down the street, or he called on the phone and said, hey, get your AEP bill and tell me what you're paying a kilowatt hour.
So John,
So
whenever you
that's-
did these other communities, whenever you switched them over and negotiated for them, how much marketing did you do?
You know, it varies by municipal, but the ones that have passed have all done education before. And so I think it's really important to have 2 or 3 meetings in public spots, you know, advertise. The water bill is a great place to put a notice of a public meeting.
We always say that. We say that a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, like, I think education is really important, because a lot of times people look at, you know, just another big brother program who's gonna shove me into electric aggregation, I can get out of it, and they're benefiting from it. That's not the case at all. It's a program that in some ways is, I look at it as more of a safety net. Hey, listen, come on in, because we got a better rate than your price to compare, which is listed on everyone's bill to begin with. And if it can save you money, great. If it can't, I always negotiate only with suppliers who do not provide cancellation fees. That would never be an issue. And so if people want to leave, I have more people wanting to get into this stuff than wanting to get out.
I have one question.
Sure.
You mentioned the water bill. Is it strictly to the residents of the city, or can we define our boundaries as anybody that's currently receiving city water or city services? Does that make?
What I read, it says city limits.
City limits, yeah.
That's what I read. It says city
Is that the
limits.
same as the?
No.
No.
We serve customers outside the city limits.
But I think West Lafayette, aren't they already in aggregation?
I believe.
Right. I was thinking of the people that are just at the border of the city of Coshocton. I can separate the Lake Ed accounts real easy,
Yeah.
but it's all the 1s and 2s that are.
It just needs to
receiving
be,
city water.
it just needs to be specified if you're AEP and you live within the city limits,
But I just wonder if we could open it up to anybody currently receiving city water, even if they just have to be outside the city limits.
Yeah, I think it is city limits. I think that has to be right.
Okay, all right, okay.
And I know Newcomers Town over there, well, they have aggregation as well. So.
Okay.
Would,
Pretty common, a lot of this.
SPP or whomever does a lot of the city hall social posts be able to put something together?
yeah, we
So we
can,
could share it
we
and-
can put frequently asked questions on one. I think the more simple you keep it, the better, and to me, it's everyone groups in joins a group, and like I said, you can opt in, opt out, and
Yeah,
it's,
I think
you
it's a
know,
great idea.
it's definitely not, it's not anything that we're trapping anyone into or anything like that.
John, what did you say the the passage, did you say 50% of the?
50 plus one.
50 plus
Yeah,
one.
exactly right. Like I said, if you list both of them together, good chance they'll both pass at the same time. People will check.
I think if you're gonna do it, just
Yeah.
do.
Yes, Max sent us some sample ordinances last week, and I thought it went to Amy and you, so I made corrections. I didn't get the. I told Amy what kind of corrections to make, but I guess she never saw the original, so she thought I was crazy for sending her that.
I was like, what's he talking about?
So we'll get it done for the next meeting.
Like I said, I don't know. I know you guys, everybody else didn't know what was going on with this, what was gonna be presented tonight, but I did some research on it. And found a lot of positives in it. I think it should be presented to the voters, because it is gonna be up to them. So,
Exactly. It's gotta pass through them first.
then I think we have to come up with a plan to educate in different parts of our city. I don't think we should stay in one section of the city and invite people to come. I think we need to go to different parts of the city to make ourselves available to different areas of the city and the wards, so people feel comfortable coming to the wards that they live in. Yeah, utilize the parks,
Aggregation parties.
aggregation. And personally, I just think if we feel it's a good thing for the city, then we have to do a good job of education to the wards.
Education is the key.
Does anybody else have any questions for John?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Is John's information on that? If anyone needs his information, we have it. So if anyone were to have a question for
This is
John.
John, I saw him, John's been coming around as well.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been in and out of City Hall, 2008.
So. Are you don't utilize him maybe on the talk shows and things?
Yeah.
Since he's the professional in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds a lot better than me talking about electric.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's see. Ordinances. We have anything else? Chad, do you have any announcements for the?
Let's just not forget about the rock concert, Saturday night. 6:30, well, the car show, I think, starts at noon, 12 to 4. And I'm gonna try to have all the food vendors down there for that, so hopefully we can make a full day of it. And, yeah, bring an umbrella just in case.
Bless you.
I'd rather not see any tents or, the pop-up things, but umbrellas would be all right, so you can put it down when you're done with it.
It never rains.
Right, it hadn't so far.
Yeah, yeah.
Be careful what you put in coolers.
Yeah, and,
It might be a good time to remind people that the Dora isn't a BYOB,
No,
because I think that's happening.
yeah. Um, The last concert, it was blocked off at Fifth. So, I'm just curious. It's gonna be,
That was a car show. It was blocked off.
Well, we block it off at Fifth because Fourth Street's blocked off. If they
Right.
come on down,
there's no
But they
place
can
for them to
still-
go. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's still.
Yeah, we're still gonna
They
have
still
it blocked
park
off
it.
the same way, because I think the car show will use all of Main Street, half of Fourth, and then we're talking about going towards the bank with some of them. Just, cause they're expecting 150 maybe cars, and they did another, big trucks or something new this year, so. There ought to be plenty down there for everybody to do, so come on down.
Don't we
Who's
have,
putting on the car show?
That's Three Rivers Car
Three
Show,
Rivers.
yes.
what weekend is Rock Coshocton? That's coming.
The
It'll be
next
the
fall.
following weekend, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Yep.
So,
A lot happening in town.
yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I
was asked if the food vendors that we have, does anyone check, make sure they're licensed and?
Yeah, they are, because I get all their information from the health department.
Yep, so that's where they have to go through the health department, get inspected, and then they can have a food truck, yeah. Okay, thank you, yep.
Anybody else? Okay, Mayor.
All right, I'll make it short and sweet. At least short, I don't know about sweet. Actually talked to the Ohio EPA Director Ann Vogel today about Buckeye Brine drilling another well. It's dangerously close to our aquifer, and anything that I can do to speak for the people to not let that happen, I'm going to do that. So I had a great conversation. I actually spoke with the Assistant EPA Director last week, who told me that she would reach out to me, and spoke with her today. So just the proximity to where that is going into the ground, and the geological maps.
It's close to the river.
It's close to the river. I don't know. It just needs to be more well thought out than it
Can we lean on
was.
some of our legislators that we always brag about bringing to town and things, and they say how wonderful this place is?
What we're going to do is I will have a meeting with Ann Vogel, the director of the EPA, and probably the governor at the same time. So that's what's going to happen. And then, yeah, most definitely have our representation. But, once things happen and are allowed to happen, it's hard to stop them from happening. So, there's requirements, there's safety. There are things that do have to happen for a new well to be drilled. So, laws are in place. It's just, figuring out a way to stop. There's no lifetime, there's no limit to how much can be pumped into the ground.
The last
There
time
are
this come
daily
up,
limits.
we couldn't do anything. We passed a resolution.
Yeah,
against it.
there's-
We couldn't do
yeah,
anything.
right.
They said as long as they jump through the
Right,
proper
as
hoops
long
with
as they do,
EPA, they
right.
can do it.
Right, and
So I
So
think you
that's-
could stop it.
right, and I think, I think at that time, there was another director at the EPA, which I know and have a relationship with now, who is in charge of the Skingham watershed, who I have talked to and got guidance from, and that's why I reached out to the EPA. And I really think that we have a voice, and I'm hoping that if nothing else, this newest permit doesn't get granted, because at some point it's going to affect us. Probably not in our lifetime, but at some point, concrete has a 50% failure rate. The ground shifts, things happen. So I'm going to try to do everything I can to stop this newest permit.
Is there anything you need from us to support that right now?
I have a letter. There was a window for public comment. I think the 7th it was over for public comment, but I have public comment in. I have, like I said, I'm going to meet with the director of the EPA and meet with the governor and see what we can do, just to make sure our voices are heard.
Okay.
American Bloom judges will be here this week. So if you got tall weeds and Mark hasn't got with you to cut your weeds down, I'd appreciate if anything anyone could do, storefronts, homes, businesses, anywhere in the city. Had a resident the other day that wanted to argue weeds or grass. If it's above 8 inches and it's weeds, we're not experts, but we have an ordinance. If the residents don't want to take care of them, we will follow the ordinance and we will take care of it, and it will be expensive. So that's not a threat. That's just mow your grass. 8 inches is where it's at. If you see anything and you want to report it, it's cityofcoshocton.com, report a property code violation. It goes straight to Mark. So anytime, a lot of times people want to say something, but they don't want anyone to tell the person that it was them. Mark does not go out and say, hey, your neighbor called and said, your grass is high. He blames it on Roger Moore, Tom Barcroft, or someone. So just keep your grass mowed. I think the city's looking good. It's, it's exciting. Things are going on. Aggregation, we already talked about. Like I said, it's as simple as everyone's bundling in, joining a group to get a lower rate. Opt-in doesn't cost anything, opt-out doesn't cost anything. There's really no risk that I see. And we will do educational pieces for aggregation. I want to congratulate Dustin Elson as our new firefighter at Company 3, and he is out of probation. And super proud of him and the way the department's running and everyone out there. I always say they run into burning buildings, I run out of burning buildings. So thankful for them. And congratulations, Dustin. Dreher Avenue, anyone know where Dreher Avenue is? I don't think Dreher Avenue is even Dreher Avenue. So the road between the railroad and the Yucatan. I will be doing research on that because I would like to do something with that, but I believe it is railroad property. All my paper maps say that, but GIS says Dreher Avenue. So I'm going to dig in with Bob and see. I called a couple people today. Something needs done with it. I realize that because I drive a car too. So we've patched it and we've patched it, but the issue, I don't believe we own it. So it's going to be kind of like a Ferry Falls situation where we have to own it before we can actually, I think we've been helping out for years, trying to keep huge craters, but to pave that road, we need to figure out a way to take care of it, partner with the railroad. Hopefully something positive happens in that situation, but I get a lot of complaints and we can't pave it if we don't own it. So I have to figure out a way.
On that same note, Mayor, where are we at with the sidewalks to schools, with the schools?
Max.
Have we started working on that?
Yes, yeah, safe routes to school.
There's a gentleman by the name of Ben Boyer with ODOT.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Dreher Avenue, that's the mystery of, that's just one of those buried.
If I recall, a few years ago, the railroad took all that all the way up to the
I thought he was
Yucatan.
making a
Yes.
joke
And didn't
about
allow
the
them
house
to
of
park
torn
there.
down.
It is literally to the back corner of the Yucatan building is actually railroad property. There was a spur that went from Orange around to Novelty back in the day. That's why that right of way is so big. So we'll figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. And like I said, human relations, I'll send you a list of those committee members for next council meeting. If you have any questions, I will answer them.
Railroad's where that electrical box is, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm working, honestly, what I'd like to see there would be like grass in that area, like when you're coming through town and it's like really nice, and that's my dream, so give me time.
Max, you have anything?
Mayor. Spoke about that. We did get notice that we received a $500,000 grant towards the Borsal project from ARC, which is
Saw that on the water report.
Appalachian Regional Commission. Normally that's a 250, so we got that last week.
Good.
And we're throwing hot mix every time we get our hands on it. Spoke to Don Wells today, the plates is on Second Street, a couple weeks. It is going to be fixed Wednesday.
When are they gonna do the new traffic lights on Second Street?
That's the 2024.
Oh, 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, and
The
that's
problem we
all.
have with that, it's not hopefully going to be a problem, is pricing. I believe the original thoughts was our portion was gonna be around 130, if I remember right, Sharon. 209 right now.
Imagine that.
So we gotta figure out where that additional funds would come from for that project. That's to do, what, 5 lights, I believe? So we have 28 of them in town. Do the math.
Okay, Dave, you got about 3 minutes.
Okay. First of all, any questions from the monthly report?
Saw the 500,000, that was good. Saw the sewer fund was going down.
Well, quickly is, youth in June, you pay a lot of your OWDA loans. We also accrued an OWDA loan for the digester project, so that's what was the primary driver for that. The other thing in the building section, on the overdues, we know we had a long discussion last month. On the quarterlies, we had 3 different, we'll say, routes. Month A was like the first quarter, second quarter, every 3 months. So we did 80% of those meter change outs. Some of those were 3 months billing, plus the prior actual cycle. So as you can see, those, we had a good hit on those. Those all got collected. So if you look for the current month, you know, that number went down on the final significantly. And that's what, with the billing cycles, we have some, if you have a K account, you get billed monthly and your billing cycle matches your billing dates. If you have these A's and C's, if you look at your service dates and your bills, it may be 2 months behind. So when we change that meter out, we final that account, bill all that up to bring it current. And then we don't actually take it out of the final bucket, we actually collect the money. Same way in the final bucket, we have about 34,000 outstanding liens with the auditor. That's still shown in our final bucket till we collect it. So I know the second half taxes are just being collected, so some of that will come in and what, another month after that, Sherry? That's some of the drivers, how those numbers work.
All right. I know that some people that in like the small trailer parks and things, I see that, and just, I saw the garbage and things. I thought Kimball was supposed to use small trucks in those areas, trailer parks and things. Is that in the contract?
Contract says they're to use small trucks where we request them to, and I know that I've had a couple of phone calls regarding the mobile home parks and tearing up the roads, and we're not getting any, they have contacted Kimball, getting nowhere, so it's time we enforce the contract.
That's been worked out between the owners of, you're talking about the Premier ones down on Second.
Yes,
That's taken care of.
no, it has, I'm glad, because it would have had to happen within the last 2 weeks.
Week before last, actually.
Thanks, Dave.
No, thank you.
Well, meeting's over, we're back up in committee meeting.
Today from Bob Beaumont about vacating an alley. Is the administration wanting that on the, as an ordinance for the next meeting?
Is that the McDaniel alley?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
I thought we'd already passed that, so.
So there'll be a vacation of an alley, and I assume council's in support of the aggregation ordinances?
Yeah.
Did they pay that allocation fee? Is there-
Yeah, it's all,
Yeah, all the money's been paid.
Okay.
We didn't want to put it on the. We didn't do anything until we had the money.
Okay, all right. Okay, now we're back. Today's Monday, July 10th, 2023, 6:30 is the regularly scheduled Coshocton City Council meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Andrews here, Barcroft.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Maintaining for the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Father God, we again thank you for the opportunity to serve the community, and that you just bless us time together. Pray in your name. Thank you.
Council, email the minutes from June 26, 2023. Questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to accept the minutes. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes. Thanks. Moore, call the roll, please.
Andrews, abstain on Dawson. Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner. Yes.
Okay, public input, come forward. If anyone's here for public input, state your name, what you're representing. Whoops.
I did win.
My name is Robert Collins. I live at 460 North End Street. I'm back again because of just issues that goes on at my house. I just had the sheriff out again on the 5th over me trying to cut my grass, and I listened to my neighbor for over an hour, running his mouth, costing me whatever he wanted to do. So I didn't say nothing back to him, so I ignored him. So then he's out and I had my trash can in the room, I bagged my clippings, and so then he wants to start shelling my trash can, knocking my trash can over. So I called the sheriff out, called the sheriff's office, deputy come out. I didn't know what his name was, but I'm sick and tired of them acting like it's me. They said, we got better things to do. Okay, you know what, I get that. I really want to call you guys over some crap like this. But why should I have to deal with this every week? It's the same thing. I can't even go out of my house without them harassing me and following me around. And the sheriff department don't want to do something about it.
Well, I believe the sheriff does as much as they can. And I don't think that they want to get involved in a door-to-door dispute. If Sheriff Crawford, I'm not a legal person.
I told the deputy that he could come and look at my cameras. I didn't do nothing to him. He's out there throwing my garbage can around like he's allowed.
I'm not.
If I do that to him, am I gonna get in trouble? Because I'm to the point right now that whatever he does to me, I'm doing it back. I've had it.
Well, I just know.
You don't get in trouble, I don't get in trouble.
Excuse me. So I just know this has been going on for several years.
5 years.
Okay. I allowed you to speak, okay? I just think maybe at some point you maybe need to get your own lawyer.
I do have one.
Okay, then I think you need to utilize your own lawyer, and prosecute from your lawyer with a civil lawsuit or something along those lines, because if you don't feel like you're making any progress, then I think you can actually take your neighbor to court if you have legal representation.
Well,
And I think right now, and I don't mind you coming to council. I really don't. I appreciate you coming, but the things that you're bringing to us, we have no authority over. We can't do anything about that. And I think for you, unless I'm incorrect and our law director's back there, I think you need to seek your own civil lawsuit against your neighbor if you have that representation, because we've talked about this before. You even have my number and you called me a couple of times. And I know, and I'm not laughing because I think it's funny, but I know Mr. Skelton has hours and hours of videotape that he has gone through.
Absolutely. I
Yes,
know that.
and that's not a bad thing, and I understand why you have your cameras, but civilly, we can't do anything about that, and I think that should be your, if you go, that's the way to go, then I think that's the way you should go.
Well, that's what Bob's been telling me, okay, I've done, fired 3 attorneys, and this is the 4th one. So I'm going to see him tomorrow, maybe, either he's gonna file a lawsuit against them, or I'm gonna fire him too, because I'm done with it.
Okay, and that's your right, and and you have.
But my thing is, if I call the sheriff out there, I don't expect them to tell me, I got better things to do than deal with this. No, I'm a taxpayer just like anybody else.
I appreciate that, and I'm not saying you're not a taxpayer, and, we do take your concerns, and I know the deputies have been there numerous times. I know that, and I know that there's been the videotape that you have sent Mr. Skelton, of all those hours of videotape, how many times has he been able to prosecute somebody?
Well, he's prosecuted him several times,
Okay.
but listen, he just don't know when to quit. So, I mean,
Mr. Skelton?
no, my neighbor,
Okay.
he just don't know when to stop.
Okay, and the last thing I'm gonna tell you is, and I'm gonna suggest for you is to use your civil lawyers and file a lawsuit. I appreciate you coming and keeping us updated, but there's nothing we can do.
Well, I'm gonna come and speak with Max and the mayor tomorrow in the morning. When I get done there, I'm going to my attorneys.
Okay.
You don't do something, I'm gonna fire him, just like the last 3.
Okay,
They wanna send him letters. Letters don't do him no good. The city's brought him letters. Letters don't do no good. You don't care.
well, the city's actually doing their job.
Well, yeah,
So, okay, so and
I mean,
that's the only
certain
thing.
things about
Excuse me, and we're done here, that I just think, you need to understand what I'm telling you is the city's doing everything they can. And the things that are happening is between you and your neighbor, and that should be a civil suit, not a city problem.
Well, listen, I understand that, but my problem is, when I call the sheriff out, I don't expect them to sit there and start bitching and carrying out at me, because they got better things to do. They got better things to do too, than call them out there.
Okay,
But I don't feel that I should be harassed and stalked and tormented by a neighbor.
and I'm sure there's two sides to every
And
situation.
damaging my trash can.
And okay, thanks for coming, and that's all we can do. That's the best advice I can give you. Anybody else?
My name is Mike Moffett. I live at 473 White Woman Street, and I've got a couple issues I'd like to talk about. First of all, if you don't mind, a marathon showing these photos. Can I do that? So, okay. So I talked about, well, let me introduce myself a little bit better than that. I just moved here, graduated high school, went off to the Navy, and spent 40 years away, retired from the Navy in Texas, and now I'm back here. While I was gone, I had the opportunity to come back and visit some friends and family several times over the past 40 years. And I saw a little bit of decline in Coshocton, and the businesses were leaving, industry was leaving, people were leaving. But the good news is, the past few years, I've come here and I'm seeing an upturn, and it's quite positive. You got the flowers along the streets, businesses coming back. You had concerts on Main Street, and you have a new disc golf course, and I hear you have a pretty good barbecue place. So,
I would agree.
So,
Definitely on the last one.
yeah, very good, great. I'm glad to hear that. So I gotta try sometime. But anyway, that's the good news, but there's 2 areas that I do want to talk about. The first one is properties of historic and cultural value. We have a few houses around the city that I think are in disrepair, but not houses, I should say, property. First one we'll talk about, you have photos there. It's something that's near and dear to, I think, every Coshoctonian's heart, and that is the Carnegie Library. It was built in 1902, and it seemed to be brought up every few years. The citizens complain about it. It's all in disrepair. It was operational until, I think, 1973, And then it got closed down. Some civilians purchased the property and have done nothing with it. Andrew Carnegie built over 1,600 libraries across Maine. 104 of those were built right here in Graceville, Ohio. We're lucky to have one. They're built to last for generations, many generations, much more than what's happening right now. Over 600 of them are still in operation as libraries today, and most of them are still in some capacity being used, but we're not. That's, I don't know, the mayor's more familiar with this than I am, but it looks like if something's not done soon, it's going to be beyond repair. Another property is on Whiteland Street, right on the main street, right in the heart of Whiteland Street. You've got a picture of it. It is in total disrepair, and I'll just go over a few things that about it. It was built in 1834. Thousands of tourists come by, walk by every year, and I live right next door to it, and I watch them shake their heads and walk by. There's a broken window. The windowsills are rotted out. There's plants growing on the inside of the house, on the window. The roof needs to be mowed. You got that right. The roof needs to be mowed because there's so much moss and grass growing on it that it needs to be mowed. There's grass growing up through the chimney. Let's see. That's another one. And let's not talk about, I mean, we'll also talk about mosquitoes. Every time it rains, you can watch a swarm of mosquitoes coming off the roof and out of the gutters because it's so full of sludge. Third house I'm going to talk about is a house that was built in 1916. It's above Huck's Tavern, right next to the Apple Butter Inn. There's a picture of it in there. It's a beautiful home. It's a stone home, and you have to look close because the vines have taken over the yard. The vines have taken over the house, and you can only see part of the porch. So it's obvious. The first two are vacant. There's still someone living in this third one. The fourth house or property is on Seago, and that is the Head Start. And it's been around for quite a few generations. Well, I'm not sure of the age on that. I couldn't find it, but it's a nice piece of property, but it's falling into disrepair and soon will be just like the other three. The fence you can see is all torn up, and it's going to be needed. Paint's going to be needed to take care of it, and I hate to see those things go. They have four things in common. They were once beautiful, and they're well maintained. They all have historical cultural value. The Coshoctonians love them. They're obviously vacant and neglected. And the fourth thing, this is the fourth thing now. They're all owned by the same family, so which is very distressful for me. Now, Andrew Carnegie once said, to try to make the world in some way better than you found it is to have a noble motive in life. I don't know this family. They could be wonderful. They could have done wonderful things with their life. They could have been generous and loving. But in this aspect, they have failed to see. And I think something needs to be done about it. To the council, I've got a few questions. First of all, and you don't have to answer these right now. You can get back to me, or if you want to wait until afterwards, that would be great. Are the properties registers as vacant as in code 1355.03? And if they are, according to the code, the owners are supposed to visit the property regularly to make sure it's clean and secure. It's obvious they're not doing that. They're supposed to keep the lot clean from and the grass cut. Fences are supposed to be amended, and it's supposed to be pest free. I know for a fact the one next to my house has a broken window, and it's pretty nasty. And I keep up with my grass. I can't because I have weeds and everything that's coming over on my side. The third thing is you're supposed to maintain the roof, the exterior windows, the gutters, and the chimneys and balconies. You can see by those photos, none of that's. The second thing is there a historic preservation committee of 5 to 7 members established? And if so, are they meeting at least 4 times a year? And that can be done. The mayor can assign that if it's not. The mayor and you folks here can also designate a property, a historic area or district. And with that comes an increase of the ability to enforce your rules. So you can pick and choose what property you want to become historic. I think that all four of these have that capability. So that's up to you. That's it for the properties. The second thing that I have is near and dear to my heart is the basin. And I don't know if you guys have been out there lately, but in the past several years, the basin has silted down. It's grown up with weeds. It smells. I have a restaurant. It happens to be a barbecue restaurant. Might or might not be the one I talked about earlier. But we have, we're trying to put a pavilion up. We're trying to get the business going. And it's a struggle. The barbecue business is hard. Everything's expensive, and we're trying to do the best we can. My partner, Brooke Winninger, and I purposely tried to bring this restaurant to this city to help the city out. We buy everything locally, we source things locally, we do everything we can to help out. We, hire people and try to do everything we can to do our part. But it's a problem when we have customers that go out to our picnic tables and turn around and walk off because the smell is so bad. I live exactly 250 cups away from that restaurant. And on some days, not all the time, but when the weather's right and it's a hot, humid day, I can smell that way from my house. It's pretty bad. Something needs to be done about it. I know it's costly. When I first moved here, I tried to talk to Roscoe about it, and they said, no, that's not ours. I called up Lake Park, they said, no, it's not ours. I called up the city, and they said, no, it's not ours. You think, nobody knows who it belongs to. Finally, I got an answer that it does belong to Lake Park, but they just don't have the funding. They're not going to do anything about it.
We have talked to, I'm on the Lake Park board, so we've talked to a gentleman about the basin. Originally, we thought we could treat it, and they come back and said no. We had two choices: one, to let nature take its course, which is what's happening, or to dredge it. Which, if the funding was there, we would gladly choose to do that. And I have talked, Mark and I have talked about it, and I don't know if he's talked to Tammy yet at Park, but it's been on our.
And that's why I'm here. I want to make sure it's on the radar, because I talked a couple years ago and it was on the radar then, but it got pushed down. And I know things happen, money's tight, but the reason I'm here is because we have several people here, and we have several people here that might know something. I'm new, and they might know, hey, there might be a grant out there. There might be this out there. These people have, or this organization has deep pockets. But it is, I was on the lake committee where I came from, and we had to dredge our lake, and it's very expensive. But I think there are other options out there where this lake, as shallow as it is, and we have the option of it. I mean, it freezes every winter. Last winter was a weak winter, but maybe, when it freezes over, get some bulldozers out there and just start dredging there. But there's a dumping issue too that the mayor's talking about. But the reason I'm here is I just want to make sure it's on the record that all of this stuff is out in the open and somebody's looking at it and someone's going to try to fix it.
We 2 weeks ago at our meeting talked about today, so it's on the radar and it's not going away. So
have the properties been reported to the deputy sheriff?
And I can answer all your questions. We do.
Yeah,
no, they're all the charges. There's charges pending on all those properties and more. For 4 years, I've been very patient with the Deadman family. I haven't called them out publicly. I was hopeful that they would do the right thing. Essentially, they haven't done the right thing. I talked to Mike. I said, come to council. Let's make this public. Maybe bringing it out into the open, telling people who it is. Maybe we'll get something done. It's frustrating. There are charges for every property associated with that family right now. So.
And I do know the Carnegie building, Mayor Mills has said in the past that was a big priority for his. So I'm sure that he's probably still trying to work on that.
I have had absolutely no communication with that family. So to say that they've tried to work with me or with the city, It hasn't happened, and I'm glad Mike showed up, and I said, come to council and let's air it out. You know, we have, if you're into preservation, you don't let a building sit empty for 50 years and do absolutely nothing with it. So, you know, the time's now, and I think, you know, I've always said there's power in numbers, and when people show up and get together for a common goal, that's when things happen. There is a historic preservation commission that I formed right like pre-COVID, like right when it hit. I was going through that. Actually, we're going through the process to become a certified local government, and the Historic Preservation Commission was one of those hoops that we had to jump through. And there is, we haven't been as active as we should be or should have been since the formation. But I know, talked to one of the members a couple days ago and said we need to meet, and he suggested let's wait till we get the certification. Certified local government just opens up the realm of more funding through federal agencies and other sources. So I am frustrated, especially with a home in Roscoe Village that could be usable space, that could be a storefront, that could be an Airbnb, that could be a home, that could have any possibility to be in that condition. The Carnegie Library, there are properties that the Dedman family owns that are unsecured, which bad things can happen in those buildings. So charges are pending. Actually, the ink might not even be dry on them from this morning. So the law director can go into more of that if he wishes, or Deputy Schrock at this time.
Is there, you help me out with the Montgomery Foundation that's over there? Is it Montgomery or the Roscoe Foundation?
Yeah, there's a Montgomery Foundation, and that's I'm not sure.
I'm on the
Yeah.
foundation board.
Okay.
So what kind of funding is with that, with some of the problems that we have over there?
For the house, the basement.
Well,
The
like
basin,
basin, to help Lake Park out. I mean, the basin's gonna be a big project, obviously. That's not gonna be a cheap area.
I would say Montgomery Foundation Board would be one to go to for the park possibly, and they could go to that foundation. I'm not on that foundation board, but they could go to that foundation, and also the Coshocton Foundation, and any of the local foundations for funding. And I'm sure that the park knows about that, and we work with the Montgomery Foundation quite a bit. Roscoe Village Foundation mostly it's not a funding source. It takes care of the village. So it receives funds to run the village and to run the educational aspect of the village, maintain all of the.
So prior to the family who bought these homes, did Roscoe own those homes?
I did not know the Carrick House, no. It owns some of them, but not the ones in question.
So, okay. Yeah, have it out here in public, and I think do some research and find out.
Yeah.
You know,
And I would-
amazing, because I've been there, and when I walk by.
We lose customers because they smell that and they think it's either coming from our smokehouse or they think it's coming from our trash.
Right.
And, you know, and you just look at it and go, come on, it's not us.
Right.
And that's very disheartening. And we're trying to make a successful business, and we're chasing customers away. And the other thing is the tourists, we watch weddings, graduations, all kinds of celebrations that go on over at the gardens at the visitor center. And every weekend you see them, the photographer take, oh, let's get a picture by the water. They walk up to the water, they get up and see the trash and the green grass, the smell, and they turn right back around and walk away. So it's the Highway Canal. I mean, you could let it soak in if you want and take, another 20 years of smelling that. But, we're going to be gone by the time it gets fixed, and it's not going to do anything. And that's what brings people in. The Roscoe Village it's a big moneymaker for us, and we're blowing it when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I think the sidewalks, right, Max? You got the grant to fix the sidewalks in Roscoe?
Yeah, and I think
Where we at on that?
in,
Market them this week.
Wow. Yeah, something.
Well, I'm sure the mayor will work work with you guys and, thank you for coming. Thank you. The pictures, appreciate your time.
You know, we have a group that walks at 8 in the morning and we can smell your process, so if we can stop and have breakfast in the morning, we appreciate it.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yep, anybody else? I'm sorry.
Just for the gentleman up here, the 5 properties he was talking about, I talked to Bob. The charges are, the complaints are done, they'll be charged, but brought up tomorrow and to be charged.
Just, I'll take a little bit more. The library is owned by Mr. Devon. We have charges pending against him for 2 years. He lives in Columbus. We've tried certified mail, we've tried getting him to come. He won't come to pick up the charges, so I can't get him in front of court. So I've made arrangements for Mark. So eventually, we're just gonna send him to Columbus to serve. And we're serving him with a new violation for the vacant property on the library. The other properties you mentioned are owned by his wife and his daughter. So we're charging them with violations of the property maintenance code as well as nuisances for the properties that are overgrown. For the Head Start, we're gonna charge him with vacant property, or her with vacant property and the property maintenance code. So we're just gonna make a trip to Columbus, try to find these people and get them served. I could send them to Franklin County, and quite frankly, they're gonna sit in a file and never be served. So that's where we're at. Why we can't do anything is we can't get, but we're gonna do our best.
Need a ride along, Mark, let me know.
Okay.
I'm already riding shotgun.
Yes,
I just wanted to add.
please come forward. Please come forward.
Yep. Brad Fuller, 1609 Nicolere Avenue, Coshocton, Ohio. I just wanted to add to what Mr. Moffett was saying about in the village. I'm representing the Roscoe Business Association. And there's a huge economic component attached to this. The village brings in, it was a couple of years ago, it was 48 million. It's over, or tourism, let me say, brings in over $50 million. 700 and some people are employed by the tourist industry. And I don't even know what the visitation is in Roscoe.
We just got those, so you just brought those figures last year.
Yeah, it's huge. And like you said, Mike, that when people, they come to the village is wonderful. The village, they help, like you said, that the funding is there to keep it clean, to keep the beautiful flowers going on and all this stuff. We're getting the sidewalks done. This is an entry point of for Coshocton County, and it's a big draw for Coshocton County. I'm there every day. I see it every day. A lot of people there. So having that house there is just pulling that part of it down. And I just want to add to that, there's an economic impact to this too. So if we could get the Deadmans to get off their dead.
Well, since you're up here, I'll ask you, doesn't Roscoe Village have certain guidelines for the way the buildings look?
There are guidelines.
So I guess my next question is, and I don't know, have these been reported in the past before Mark took over? Because what I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at this, and I looked at the pictures, those things should have been reported 7-8 years ago.
Right.
And I'm wondering, excuse me, I'm just wondering why we're just now getting these reports, and now we sit up here and it all falls on us. What could have been an easy solution, now the gun's on us because they were never reported. I just want to know if they've been reported.
I don't think the gun's on you. I think the gun's on the Deadman family.
Well, I understand, but yeah, we look bad because we've allowed this to happen, I think, because
we didn't allow it to happen. They did. They let it to.
Well, it hasn't been reported. I'm asking if it's been reported.
Yeah. Well, I mean, exactly.
I mean, you guys are in Roscoe Village a lot more than I am. I walk through there and I see the same things. But I'm just asking, has anybody ever reported those, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no, but.
Okay.
Does that matter that they really?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, if we're more diligent, we can stop this before.
Yeah, for properties that are getting that way.
Correct. That's my point.
Yeah, but we also have a committee within the council, right, that goes to looks at buildings around the city. And did they report it?
I'm not putting the blame on anyone.
No, I'm just countering what you said.
Okay, you can count. To our knowledge, they've never been reported.
First I became aware of it was last week.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll try to do better.
Hey,
Us too. Thank you.
there's one more thing that you brought up. There is a historic, Roscoe Village is its own historic district, and there is ordinance, there's building specifications, there's there's a whole historic Roscoe Village that spells out the whole area of where that historic area is in Roscoe, and there's also one downtown as well.
Yeah, I looked into that when I first moved here, and the problem is the Roscoe side of the house, they're like a subcommittee of Coshocton. And since I think the Montgomery Foundation, they're kind of low on funds. It's just been dropped. Nobody's enforcing anything, and therein lies the problem. So,
Right.
I agree.
I think that those are typically for renovations, those guidelines. And of course, that building is not being renovated. So if you're gonna renovate your building, you need to go to the historic commission through Roscoe Village and
I
make
think
sure that they're.
it spells out
Yeah.
pretty much with renovations,
Right.
with every standards, even upkeep,
Absolutely.
everything.
Okay, we just get
Is
those.
all of that. Okay.
So we're just reading the same thing over and over again. What charge has been filed? Does anybody else have anything? I like the showing, did like. Job. Okay. Mayor's report. I know that council email is building report summary or building permit summary, the building report summary through June and monies received. I think there was a total on the building permit summary of $422,300.72. And what the monies received was $2,074. Mayor?
I just want to thank you, Mike. Thank the Roscoe folks for showing up. Brad, thanks for showing up. Like I said, when people talk, people start listening. The more people that talk, people start listening. So I just want to show my appreciation for you guys showing up. I'll just remind everyone once again, Jason Fisher Memorial Car Show put on by Three Rivers Fire Department is at noon, registration downtown this weekend, and the concert 6:30. I'm sure Chad will be down there dancing. So it's AC/DC, Dirty Deeds, so it should be a great night in downtown Coshocton. Looking forward to it.
Any questions for the mayor? Max, you have anything to add?
Really nothing outside committee, outside we continue to throw blacktop as the right mix becomes available. What to run out on 16.
Have you started mosquito spraying?
And we're supposed to be spraying this week. So we had the gentleman come in and calibrate our machine and the right droplet size coming out. We also did some training with our guys. So
Ball director's report. Mr. Skelton, you have anything?
No, beyond what's already been spoken.
Auditor's report, your email, the June 23 report. Sherry, you have anything to add?
Unless there's any questions.
Okay, any questions? Need a motion to accept the auditor's report? Barcroft
I'll second.
and second. Call the roll, please.
Andrews? Yes. Barcroft?
Yes.
Gross? Johnson?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Turner? Yes.
Okay, sheriff's report. Council emailed the sheriff's report. It was the city limits, the city chart, and code enforcement. Anybody have any questions for Sheriff Crawford? Sheriff Crawford, you have anything for us?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. I did hear that you hired 2 new people. Three? Up to 3? Good deal. Good to hear. Okay. Deputy Sheriff, you have anything for us?
Nothing else.
Thank you. Okay, Dave K. Dry, Utilities Director, you emailed his monthly report. We talked about it in committee. You have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Any questions for Dave? Okay, we'll go into legislation. I'll ask the clerk to give the first reading of ordinance 2423.
An ordinance to amend chapter 925 tree rules and regulations.
For the first reading of ordinance 2423, any questions or comments? Ordinance 2423 will run its course. Third reading. I'll ask the clerk to give the third reading of ordinance 3223.
An ordinance adopting the budget of the city of Coshocton, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 2024 and submitting the same to the county auditor.
For the third reading of ordinance 3223. Question is, should ordinance 3223 pass? Call roll, please.
Andrews. Yes. Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner. Yes.
Ordinance 3223 is passed. Resolutions, any old business? New business?
Just remember the concert, this Saturday in the car show.
Okay. Clerk, we have any other communications? Okay. Just a reminder, council will meet on, we usually take August off, but we will meet the first Monday in August, which is August 7th. And we will not meet the rest of the month unless there is an emergency. Clerk, when's the date and time of our next meeting?
July 24th at 6:30.
Okay, committee to begin at 5:45 here at City Hall. I need a motion for the meeting to be adjourned.
So moved.
Moore, Johnson, call roll, please.
Andrews. Yes. Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Meeting's adjourned. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay.